What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I want to start off this episode with disclaiming that everything that I share on here comes from my own personal experience. It comes from somewhere real, my own body, my own history, sometimes my own clients, and today's episode is going to be no different. Today, I want to talk about the mindsets that kept me stuck in a body that I didn't like and the ones that I watch keeping my clients or other women stuck too. And sometimes this conversation can feel super triggering or confrontational. So I want you to know I'm only sharing this because I have been in your shoes. It's very easy to look at your actions and think that's the problem. Whether it's the food that you're eating and blaming carbs or hyperfixating on protein, second guessing if you're doing the right workouts. Do I need to do more Pilates or more weights or more cardio? Feel defeated because you're struggling to stay consistent or because you're so consistent, but you're still not getting the results that you want. And while yes, there are definitely some habits, some behaviors, some actions that you probably need to change, it's really your mindset and your beliefs that are driving all the things that you're doing. And so the real transformation, the kind that actually sticks, requires you to unlearn the beliefs before you just start layering in new habits on top of that. Because if you don't do the internal work, if you don't shift your beliefs and your entire approach towards health and wellness as a whole, you're going to keep defaulting back to the same results, further than reinforcing those beliefs that you have. So I want to talk about what some of these beliefs or some of these mindsets are that sabotage women's health and even your physique, and what you can do about it to start shifting this. The first one is probably the most common and one that I still navigate to this day, is the more is better mentality. The just push your body harder. As a high performer in your career, in your relationship, in your life, you have learned, probably since you were young, that the results that you get are a direct output of the effort that you put in. That if you push harder, you get more. If you restrict more, you lose more. If you do more cardio, you burn more. That's the equation that you've been given. And honestly, it has worked for you. It's probably worked for a while. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's like this completely made up belief. Like, this belief has evidence to it. And that's why it is so hard to let go of. But at some point in your journey, specifically in your health journey, that push harder, work more stops working. And it's actually self-sabotaging. What that push harder, work more belief is doing for you right now, the woman who's eating 1,600 calories, training 5 to 6 days a week, doing 3 or more hours of cardio, hitting 15K steps a day, and you've hit a wall, the scale isn't moving, your body's not changing, you don't even know what more could look like anymore because you're doing everything and you have been for months or years. When you are chronically underfueled and overtrained, your body stops prioritizing fat loss and starts prioritizing survival. Cortisol goes up, thyroid goes down, hunger hormones get completely dysregulated, your sleep suffers, your inflammation markers go through the roof, and you just keep on pushing because that's the only tool you've ever been given. And pushing harder is making everything worse. I heard actually a quote recently that I wanted to share here because it related so much. And it's that just because you can do more doesn't mean you're not doing enough. I've been on my own healing journey for 2 years now, I'd say. And just this year, starting in January, I dropped my training down from 5 to 6 days a week down to 3. And I struggled with that because it didn't feel hard enough. Because I knew that I could do more. I could do more workouts. So it felt like I wasn't being disciplined. It felt like I wasn't pushing my body hard enough, and that if it didn't feel hard, then it didn't count. Then it wasn't going to work. Then I wasn't going to get results because I wasn't pushing myself to the point of exhaustion. But my recent lab work that I got done showed that my inflammation marker dropped to basically nothing because of some of these changes that I made that allowed me to prioritize more rest and more recovery for my body. So it's working, even though I couldn't see it. I couldn't see necessarily the results that were happening because they were all going on internally. It's paying off for me to really start to unlearn this more is better mentality, specifically when it comes to exercise, but many other things. And finally, because I've been prioritizing this recovery so much, my body started responding because I finally gave it what it needed. And this is something that I say to clients all the time who are feeling frustrated by the results. You don't need to push your body harder. You need to support your body more. Ask, what does my body need right now? It doesn't need a deeper calorie deficit. It doesn't need more cardio. It doesn't need more willpower or discipline. It needs signals of safety so that it can respond in the way that it is designed to, that is supposed to. So more of the story is, more is not always the answer for you. In fact, for a lot of you listening to this right now, less, or I would say just different, might be the exact thing that gets you the result that you have been chasing for years. So that different is key, because I would say you just need a different strategy. It's not necessarily less, it's a different strategy for body recomposition than just what you've done in the past, the chronic diets of eating less, working out more. So that is number one. Number two is the I just need to find the quickest path mentality. And I know you're not looking for a quick fix. Like, you've been burned by quick fixes enough times that you're kind of past that. But there's almost like a subtler version of this mindset that I see in almost every high achieving woman that I work with. And it's the belief that there is a finish line to this journey. You are rushing to arrive somewhere in your fitness journey. You want to get lean. You want to get there and then be done with it. Because that is how you operate in every area of your life. You set a goal, you execute, you close it out. You hit the deadlines. You move on to the next thing. And that works great for your career. It does not work for your body. And honestly, for developing a healthy lifestyle. Your body is not this project that you complete. It is something that you have to maintain forever. It's honestly an identity that you become, that you step into. The women that I work with who see the most lasting change are the ones who stop trying to sprint to a destination and start building a life that they can actually sustain. And that typically looks like phases, where there are periods where you are in a fat loss phase, eating in a moderate deficit, being more intentional about food, probably setting better boundaries and being more strict with yourself. Then there are maintenance phases where you're living life, you're building muscle, you're letting your metabolism recover. Back and forth. That is the cycle. One is not you going backwards or losing progress or falling behind. It is all a part of the process. And the only difference between those phases, between the phases of chasing fat loss and between the maintenance phases of building muscle and supporting your internal health, the only difference is in how much you're eating. Point blank, period. Like, all of the habits, the routines, the standards, the foundations of how you operate in your day-to-day life and how you take care of your body and your health, those stay the same. You're still eating healthy and clean. You're still working out 3 to 4 days a week. You're still hitting your step goal. You're still drinking your water. You're still prioritizing adequate sleep and morning and evening routines. You're still doing all of those things. The only thing that changes is in one phase, you are in a calorie deficit and you're eating less. And in the other phase, you are eating more. You're eating at your maintenance and supporting your internal health or focusing on building muscle tissue. You don't blow up your entire lifestyle every time you shift phases. You just adjust. And so the fastest way to get there, truly the fastest path, is not the most extreme one. Is not just pursuing fat loss no matter what it costs, cutting harder, training more. The fastest path is making your body responsive instead of resistant to that. Meaning doing the upfront work to get your hormones, your metabolism, your gut, your muscle definition, your muscle tissue into a state where fat loss is actually possible. And when you lose that fat, you actually look lean and toned, not just getting skinny and losing weight. And that upfront work is the part that most people skip. Why most people stay stuck and why it takes you way longer to achieve your goals than it would have been if you just did the upfront work in the first place. The shortcut is to stop looking for the shortcut. So that is number 2. Like, remove this idea that there is an end goal, that there is a destination to this entire fitness journey. You are always going to be on a fitness journey. Your goals are just going to shift and change. That's it. So the amount of calories that you're eating is the only thing that shifts and changes as a byproduct of that. Number 3 is the belief that you can figure this out on your own. I love this one because I was this one. You are smart, you are resourceful, you've probably consumed more content about nutrition and hormones and fat loss than most personal trainers out there. You've read the studies, you've done the research, you've tried the approaches, you've listened to the podcasts, you've watched the YouTube videos, you've read the books, and yet you are still here. The truth is, you can't see your own blind spots. That is literally the definition of a blind spot. And you have so much history with your own body. Too many failed attempts, too many beliefs, too many stories, too many moments. I've tried that and it didn't work for me, that are quietly shaping every single decision that you're making right now when you don't even realize it. So you do this thing where you find a new approach. It sounds good. It makes sense. But somewhere in the back of your mind, you're not fully convinced that it's going to work for you specifically. So you try it halfway. It doesn't work as well as it should have. And you move on and you try something new and you stay stuck in the exact same place, reinforcing this belief that I've tried everything and nothing works for me. That is because you're trying to figure this out on your own and you can't see your own blind spots. I hired my own coach when I became a functional health coach. Not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because I understand the power of having a mentor. Mentorship truly is leverage. Leverage meaning someone else creates the plan, holds the roadmap, so I can put my energy where it actually needs to go, to following through, to executing. I don't get to waste mental energy on second guessing, on questioning if I'm doing everything right, on researching and trying to figure out what's going to work for me and my body and my lifestyle. No, someone else removes all of that guesswork, removes all of that self-doubt, and removes the ability for me to be less honest with myself about how consistent that I'm actually being, because I'm jumping from one thing to the next, trying to find what works instead of actually staying consistent enough to see results. Could you figure this out on your own? Yes, I honestly have no doubt about that. You probably could figure this out on your own, but it's going to take you much longer. It's going to come with a lot more stress and overwhelm. And you've already been doing this for long enough. You've already been trying to figure this out on your own for long enough. When are you finally going to ask for help? Not because you can't figure it out on your own, but because you want to let go of the guesswork and the self-doubt and enjoy your health and fitness journey again, because you feel empowered by the habits that you're building and the path that you're on. That is what mentorship can provide. Or coaching, I should say. That is number 3. Number 4 is, this is probably my least favorite one of them all. I'm too busy right now. Life is lifing. When is it not? When is it not going to be like this? I hear this one constantly. When things slow down, when the kids are older, when work quiets down, after the holidays, after the move, after vacation, after the launch. And I want to ask you honestly, has there ever been a season where life just cleared out for you? And it was calm enough for you to say, okay, like now's the right time to take care of me? I'm going to guess no. Because that season doesn't exist for most of us. Life is always going to be lifing. There will always be a reason to wait. Why? Because there's fear present in this journey. That's just the reality of it. That's normal. Fear means that you're going outside of your comfort zone. Going outside of your comfort zone means you're going to grow, means you're going to change. That's never going to happen when you stay in what feels or do what feels comfortable to you. What you've just continued to do for the last few months or maybe even years. Every time that you say, not right now, what you are actually saying is my health is less of a priority than all the other things that you have on your plate. This really brings up a conversation that I had with an accountant one time. I was on a call with her, and she said to me, she was like, everyone in my life asks me how I stay so consistent with my routines during tax season. Honestly, tax season is when I see the most progress when it comes to my health and my body, which objectively is the most chaotic time of her entire life. And she said, that is actually the time that I am the most structured, that I'm the most dialed in. And the reason is not because she has more time, because she doesn't have more time. It's because she is efficient with the time that she already has. And so you don't need more time. You don't need life to slow down to give you more time to prioritize yourself, to take care of yourself, to eat healthier, to get your workouts in, to hit your step goal. You don't need more time. You need to be efficient with the time that you already have. You need a system that works inside of your life. Instead of trying to follow what all the fitness influencers out there who have way more time on their hands than you do, you need a system that works with the time that you have so that you can be efficient with it and not be chasing some hypothetical calmer version of what you think your life is going to be at some point. It's not going to be that. We need to learn how to operate in the busy, chaotic seasons because those are always going to be happening. That is not an excuse to delay your results. So that is number 4. Number 5 is it's restrictive. And this one is, really interesting. And I obviously want to be careful here as we talk about this because I, of all people, understand where this comes from. Someone with a history of an eating disorder. I've been through it. I've done the eating disorder. I've done the 1,200 calorie diets, the food plans where you're eating plain chicken and broccoli 6 days a week, the programs that told you that fruit were too much sugar, that you couldn't eat after 6 p.m. I've been through restriction. You've been through restriction listening to this. Real restriction, I would bet. And your nervous system remembers that. So now, any program or anything that asks you to be a little bit more intentional with how you're fueling your body, that asks you to track your food, to choose the higher protein option, to say no to something, that feels like a trauma response. Like that feels like a cage to you. That feels restrictive. Even when it isn't. Even when it is the healthier option or the one that's just genuinely required for you to achieve your goals. Your nervous system remembers that as restrictive. We need to unlearn that. We need to unwire that. That having boundaries for yourself when it comes to your health and how you take care of your body is not disordered and it's not restrictive. It can be if you take it to that point, but it's not inherently. What's actually more restrictive? Like living in a body that you don't like for years or maybe even decades, where you avoid photos, where you turn down opportunities, where you hide in the back of group pictures and stress about what you're going to wear every single morning and letting food noise run your entire mental bandwidth, pull away from intimacy with your partner, shrink yourself in rooms where you should be taking up space? Or is choosing to track your food, set a boundary with yourself, and build a standard for how you choose to treat your body? Like, what's actually more restrictive here? How I see personal boundaries, standards, and those habits like tracking that can seem tedious and can get to a place where they are disordered and restrictive, how I see them now is that they are more self-respect than they are restrictive. Because you know that you are worth the effort. And the payoff of doing these things is much greater than the immediate relief of not doing them. At the end of the day, the goal is always to build a body and build a relationship with food that gives you more freedom, more energy, more presence, more confidence. But you have to earn that by doing the work, by setting the boundaries, by having high enough standards. That is where the pendulum swings from one side of the extreme to the other side of the extreme, and then back in the middle. From disordered and restrictive to not giving two F's about anything because you're scared of it being unhealthy and going back to that place, to finding this middle ground where you hold yourself to a higher standard without it being extreme, without it being unhealthy physically, mentally, emotionally. And that is all that I have for you today. So if you heard yourself in any of these, good. I hope so. That's the point. Awareness is where change really starts. And if you want to understand more about what's actually keeping your body stuck at the root level, whether it's physically or mentally, that's where we start inside of my coaching program. We have to figure out what are these underlying beliefs that are driving behaviors that aren't getting you the results that you want, and how do we unwind all of that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.